One of my lifelong passions has been studying flying animals. I've always been fascinated by hummingbirds, bees, and dragonflies. So in this video, I'm going to show you something you've probably never seen before: hummingbirds, bees, and dragonflies in super slow motion. I will also show you something I've been working on for literally 25 years. A 3D printed robotic mechanism for flapping wings. Now, before we talk shop, let's address some of the history of how this project came about. Back in college, I designed this contraption in an attempt to mimic the motion of flapping wings. I started by sitting in a chair and flapping my arms back and forth. After lots of arm fatigue and being generally ridiculed by my peers in the rotorcraft center, where everyone else was studying helicopters, I began to appreciate the nuance of the mathematics of wing motion. And believe me, there's a lot of nuance in play. There's some genuinely mathy math for those of you who love that sort of thing, and we'll get to that. There's also some natural magic. Before we explore the harder science and the mechanism of the thing, let's first take a moment to consider its inspiration. Much of the footage you'll see here was recorded on a Sony RX100, with its gloriously affordable 1,000 frames per second. I say affordable in rock and roll quotes here because that shit cost $1,000. And it's not waterproof. I had to risk my life and the camera as I climbed down the rocks north of Coogee Beach to get these shots of the Pacific waves crashing on the rocks. I also had to move my whole life to a new country to have the opportunity in the great land of Australia, but more on that in another video. I spent 2 months in Tasmania onboarding for a new job in the lovely city of Hobart. Of course, I brought the fancy camera, and of course, I quickly made friends with the local bees. Turns out they're not indigenous to this land, and so they're basically not so distant cousins of the bees I met in Dubois Park in San Francisco months earlier. But I wasn't prepared for the striking differences between bees and dragonflies. Months earlier still, I recorded this footage in Seattle at the Japanese gardens there. This little camera has racked up some mileage, and I've nearly filled a terabyte card with footage of flying things in under a year. Watching this footage of dragonflies changed everything I thought I knew about flapping wing flight. Up until this, I believed the wings of dragonflies relied on some sort of strong vortex shed from two wings slapping together. Imagine my surprise when it became clear they beat up and down and out of phase, rather than side to side. Comparing this to the bees, I came to a striking conclusion. Insects don't all use the same mechanism for flight. Then we add this footage of a hummingbird and things get even more interesting. The bird's wings move more like the bee wings, and the dragonfly's wings move more like larger birds. Armed with this new knowledge, I set myself on the path of 3D printing something. I still had some faith in the notions I developed all those years ago. Now I had a basis for mashing the science button. I had ideas to test, and I aimed to build something to confirm my hypotheses. This is where we start to get deep into the math. The overall theme is coupling two sinusoidal inputs with a fixed phase angle between them. Two linear pistons driving an articulated linkage can create the motion we want. If we set the phase angle to 0, both pistons move in unison, resulting in purely flapping motion. If the phase angle is 180 degrees, both pistons move opposite to each other, resulting in purely pitching motion. Then there's the magic number where the flapping and pitching work together to produce motion very similar to a hummingbird. It's not entirely clear what this number is, so we experiment to find out. Let's review how this all works. This is a 3D printed dual Scotch yoke driven by a pulley in the center. In between the input and the Scotch yokes is a planetary gearing system for each side. One of these has its ring gear fixed to the chassis. The other is the phase angle input. Adjusting the static position of the ring gear has the consequence of adjusting the phase angle between the Scotch yokes. Since it's a gearing system, it can be adjusted while in operation. That part's important. This is all very, very complex, and I don't expect anyone to understand any of this. I myself barely appreciate it, and I designed it. So if you feel overwhelmed watching this, know that you're in good company. Even some of the smartest people I know have trouble with this. That's how you know you're doing something excellent. So I built one and chucked it into my portable lathe for a concept proof. Magically, it works exactly as designed. Adjusting the worm gear does indeed introduce a phase differential between the linear outputs. This was a major milestone. But this iteration is extra janky. Without any glue, there's nothing to hold this to that, and it quickly flies apart. Still, with this rough constraint in place, we can continue connecting all the linkages for the flapping wing itself. The motion of this thing is surprisingly I can't say it with a straight face. Simple. Using an offset hinge for the shoulder joint, a T-shaped part bolts into the blade clamp through a bearing. The offset nature of the hinge allows the flapping axis to be positioned very close to the pivot point for actuating the wing. A pair of tie rod ends allows the push rods to connect to the shoulder bone and still have sufficient clearance to avoid interfering in the linkage. At this scale, the direct linkage results in a pitch angle of about 45 degrees. Ideally, we would be able to drive the mechanism at 90 degrees. This means we use another gearing system assembly to convert the motion we have into the motion we want. With this and some temporary structure to hold everything in place, we can finally connect it all together. And behold, a flapping and pitching wing driven by a fixed speed shaft input. It represents a monumental proof of concept, but it needs a lot of refinement to be really useful. Now, this is the part of the video where I would normally speculate on ways we might make the thing more effective in terms of mechanical concerns. Unfortunately, we also have some rather sad realities in play. The mechanism itself remains in San Francisco, while I now live in Sydney, half a world away. I'm working to get a new 3D printer and build again what you see here, so that the work can continue. But for now, the work is paused pending some rather expensive choices I must make. My next video will focus on the monumental challenge I have faced in moving around the world to a new country where, allegedly, everything is trying to kill me. After some amazing bushwalking and connecting with nature and building strong relationships with the locals, I can safely say I feel very much at home here in Australia. And I look forward to sharing that story with you all. I continue to welcome all the new mistakes I continue to make in this new and magnificent place. And I continue to grow as a result. When mistakes are welcome, growth is guaranteed. Thanks so much for watching.